Brooks, 94, with the penetration right through the A gap between the guard and the center. Gets his left hand up. The kick's a little low. And that fingertip is all you need from this distance. Just said you can't take any of it
The life I live. The life
you live. It's the life the life you chose.
Yeah, I guess it is.
You chose this life, man.
I guess.
Deal with the consequences. Be a man about it. Just be a man about it. Don't bitch. Don't complain. Wake up every day knowing that as a Bears fan, you're going to be disappointed.
Yep. I don't know why I expected any different.
This is, at this point, we just have to really talk to somebody about our constant PTSD.
I need a therapist.
That we have as Bears fans.
I need a therapist.
We do this to ourselves, though.
Yep.
We come every year ready to have PTSD. We show up every year armed and ready, joining the Bears Armed Services.
Yep.
Ready to get ourselves butchered and slaughtered in combat.
Yep.
We do it every year.
It's all right. We'll get to that, but
welcome everybody.
Yes, sir.
This is episode what, Coach?
This is episode 9.
Episode 9, ladies and gentlemen.
Already?
Thank you yes, man, so fast.
Yeah.
First of all, we want to thank you all for rocking with us from episode 1 all the way here. It has been such a fun journey thus far, and we hope to continue keep going with this, as we will. Because the halftime is not going anywhere, baby. Nowhere.
Number 1 podcast in the world.
Absolutely. But, Coach, let's get into week 11.
Yes.
It was some good games. It was some bad games.
Yep.
But they all lived to play another day.
Absolutely.
Any surprising things from you from week 11 on Sunday?
My biggest surprise was the Broncos giving that route to the Falcons as they did. 38-6 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, anytime you get slaughtered like that is always like, I didn't see that one coming.
And then the Bills also gave the Chiefs their first loss of the season.
Hey, I said I was going to roll with them until they finally got beat, and they finally got beat.
They did,
so,
they did.
At this point, am I off the Chiefs bandwagon? No. I still believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
I do. As long as you got Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, it's kind of hard for me to believe that you're not going to be a team to beat. But the Bills are going to be a problem.
Absolutely.
And I think the addition of Amari Cooper is going to play out major dividends come the playoffs.
Yep.
But for me, the Chargers beating the Bengals, it wasn't that much of a surprise as much as it was something that I just didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers squeaking out a win against Baltimore, not a surprise, but at the same time, I don't know if it proves as much about the Steelers as people think, but a win is a win, is what I'll say about that game.
Absolutely. Winning teams win, losing teams lose.
That's. Are we still feeling some type of way?
Of course we are.
But yeah, it was interesting to see the Broncos put belt to motherfucking ass on the Falcons. I didn't expect that to happen that way.
Me either, but I also did say it's hard to play in the Mile High.
It is. But at the same time, you just kind of assume. Well, I've said this before. Kirk Cousins is hit or miss, man. He can do some shit, and you could be like, wow, Kirk Cousins is fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next game, you can be like, why the fuck did we pay this guy this much money? You know what I'm saying? Like, it could really go that fast with Kirk. So, I don't know, man. I didn't see that happening, but shouts out to Sean Payton, who's doing a hell of a job with Bo Nix up there in Denver. So.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Other than that, no more real surprises. Detroit put belt to motherfucking ass on Jacksonville. And the thing that I like about Detroit, ladies and gentlemen, is that they do not give a fuck about what's going on in the game as far as the score, they are going to keep putting that motherfucking pedal to the metal. They are going to keep putting their foot on your motherfucking neck. They are trying to kill you. And I love that about them because these are grown men. These is not little kids. We are not out here trying to spare feelings. If you didn't want to get your ass beat 52-6, you should have showed up to play. Just that simple.
Absolutely.
So in professional sports, I hate when guys get pissed off and be like, oh, they're running up the score. They're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You're grown men. If you don't want another grown man to be whooping your ass like this, fight back, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. Fight back. But other than that, it was pretty good. Pretty good games.
Yeah, solid week of football, no doubt. A lot of good games. Yeah, that's all I've got. I mean, the Patriots put up a fight against the Rams.
Do you really just really quickly?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Bears game just really fast? We don't have to do it long, but is there anything that you just want to say about it?
I think I could talk about it a little bit in this next segment of the show.
In our game, our favorite game, who's cooking and who should stay the out the kitchen?
Yep.
All right, number one. I know you've been waiting. You've been waiting a long time to talk about this guy, to finally put him in the Who's Cooking segment. So I'm going to let you have the floor so you can talk about your boy wonder and your boy toy, Caleb Williams. Let's go, Coach. He's cooking, I guess.
Caleb motherfucking Williams. All right. So, obviously, walking into this game, I did not have high expectations at all for this Bears team. I had them losing. I thought they were going to lose big. You had them winning just simply because of Thomas Brown coming on. New OC, new energy. And we definitely saw that in this Bears game. Guys on offense were more motivated to play. You definitely saw guys trying to get after it. Even the receivers wanting to block more.
Yes.
But also you saw way better concepts as far as when to call a certain play.
Yeah.
One specifically when we ran a wide receiver screen to DJ Moore. A lot of the times this season, Shane Waldron will run it to the far side of the field where there's more open field, meaning the offensive line has to move a lot further to get to their assignments. But this week they run it to the short side of the field. O-lineman could get there a lot faster, 15-yard gain. So that's just one easy example of how the offense was being so mismanaged in a way that the plays weren't being called the way they should have been called. And I think Thomas Brown has really come in and ignite a fire under these guys' asses because it's more of an accountability thing now. You got your assignment. You got to go block. You know what I mean? Stop being so fucking lazy, Keenan Allen, right? I mean, just that type of shit. But
he just called out Keenan so petty.
Yeah, I love Keenan. I love Keenan, but there's been way too many instances where he's missing blocking assignments. So but Caleb Williams, he's on the Who's Cooking portion. Let me talk about him. All right. So obviously, before the game, Tom Brady was commentating over this game. Tom Brady or Caleb is
good
Tom's
old
guy.
TB12.
Yes, sir. And obviously they had a decently long talk before the game.
Right.
Videos and pictures showed. And I mean, Caleb went out there and I just saw USC Caleb Williams. I saw him getting the ball out fast. I saw him creating, getting out of the pocket, even running read options, which we haven't seen at all this year. We saw it once in the Indianapolis Colts game. That was like a 14-yard loss for DeAndre Swift, right?
Yeah.
The speed option at the goal line. So it was really nice to see, I think, Caleb Williams finally being allowed to do what Caleb Williams does. Because I think leading up to this game, it was a lot of just Caleb, be a pocket passer, don't turn over the ball. This game, it was Caleb, get the ball out fast and quick game, make your throws, get out of the pocket if you need to, stop trying to get to your fifth read to force the ball to somebody, go through your two reads, nothing's there, you got the timer and the clock, get out of the pocket.
Okay. So I'll say this.
Yeah, go for it.
I do think that the new play caller, Thomas Brown, is utilizing Caleb Williams in a way that Justin Fields was utilized. And I think that's kind of interesting. That in his first game of play calling, he used a lot of RPO. He built off of that and went into play action type of calls. The wide receiver screens. There was even design runs for Caleb Williams. These are a lot of the things that Justin was kind of doing, and they were kind of building the offense that way for Justin. And I think it's even more, I guess, fortunate for Caleb that they did do that, because in a sense, the article that came out prior to the game said that they were trying to simplify the offense for Caleb, and this is a simpler way of doing things.
Absolutely.
Take your first couple of reads, build off of the run game, build off of play action, utilize your quarterback and his legs, allow him to do 3-step drops and get the ball out quickly. Don't leave him in the pocket too long. Encourage him to kind of escape and be creative. It's just kind of free, allows him to freelance. I think the thing is that for Bears fans, this is what we were kind of looking for from Caleb. When we drafted him, the essential idea was that we drafted Caleb to kind of still give us what Justin gave us, but we were exchanging the strength of Justin's legs for the strength of Caleb's arm.
Yeah.
And that's essentially why we made the decision we made at the quarterback position. We liked Justin, but we felt that Caleb gave us a little bit more from the arm aspect than Justin did. And so it was good to see those two dynamics coming into play, where you got to see Caleb's ability to make throws under pressurized situations, be accurate and different things like that, even though it was some throws that he missed.
Yeah.
But you got to see exactly why the Bears thought that they should move on from Justin Fields in this game.
Absolutely.
And so I'm excited that happened, but I still say a part of me is still hesitant to hold on to this so greatly, because I do feel like now that there is film on how Thomas is going to decide to use Caleb going forward, now that there's film on it, now teams can be better prepared for how this play caller is going to use Caleb in comparison to Shane. And that was one of the reasons why I thought that the Bears could come in and win this game big against the Packers, is because it was going to be a totally new experience.
Right.
It was going to be something that the Packers hadn't seen. They were going to have to try to adapt on the fly and adjust on the fly, and I wasn't so sure that they would be able to do that. And for the most part, it wasn't something that they wasn't, able to do. I mean, outside of missing that field goal towards the end, this could have easily been a situation where the Bears walked out with their first win against the Packers in almost 10 games or 11 games or something like that.
Yeah.
So this could have been something that could have been one of those games that the Bears stole. I thought they were going to steal the game big. That was just my feelings. I thought they were going to run away with this 24-10, 35-14 or something like that, only because it was just a whole new energy, new experience, and I thought guys would be motivated. But when it comes down to Caleb, this is the Caleb that I thought we were going to see from the jump, and I'm excited to see if this can continue. Now that film is out there on how Thomas is going to plan on using Caleb. I hope that they can figure out how to adjust, and I hope they can get him back in the column of throwing touchdowns.
No,
because in this game, once again, he wasn't able to get a touchdown on the board,
which there was definitely opportunities to do so. But just to wrap that up really quick, obviously next game is against the Minnesota Vikings, and the 3-4 scheme and the kind of different pre-snap looks that the Vikings give is going to be a bit of a trouble for Caleb. So I'm really interested to see how he handles that next week.
And how Thomas handles that too.
Obviously, great performance against the Packers, division rival. You know what I mean? That's the game you want to show up for.
Yeah.
But I think next week is going to be even more of a tell if this is sustainable, because he is going to play a good Brian Flores coach defense, and that gives a lot of looks. So that's going to be interesting. But let's go ahead and move on to the NBA here. The Houston Rockets are cooking, Coach. And let me tell you,
boys in H-Town is hooping.
They are. But I'm not necessarily a big fan of them right now, because they did just 30-piece my Chicago Bulls not too long ago.
They caught us on a bad shooting night, Coach.
Yeah, no, it's true. But we also played no fucking defense, Coach.
I mean,
they put up 140 points.
We don't ever play defense.
Yeah, and that's not.
We don't ever play great defense.
Yeah.
We play what's the term of it? Situational defense.
Got you. Yeah, I could see that. But
we play situational defense.
But obviously, the team is built pretty well, I think. As far
Houston?
as I think they've got the right pieces around one another. I don't know.
They're fairly balanced.
Yeah, I don't know how far they can make it into a playoff run or even throughout the regular season, just because I think they're lacking that X factor, a superstar to actually make that impact when it comes to later in the season.
They're lacking a wing.
Yeah.
They're lacking that dynamic wing.
Yeah.
Because they got Jalen Green, they got the point guard, they got the center.
Yep.
They're missing that piece from the small forward position or the power forward position. And you hope that Jabari Smith can become that from the power forward position.
He's not ready yet, though.
But I don't think he's there just yet.
No, not at all. But I mean, maybe there's some trade talks. I kind of mentioned this with you on our call. Apparently, they're looking at both Giannis and KD as possible moving pieces, but I think we both came to the consensus that I think it's just more of a show.
Yeah, it's just them trying to tell their fans that they're aggressive, that they want to win.
Yeah, I don't think there's any even feasible plan or package that they could offer unless it's a absurd amount of first round picks, which I don't think they want to give up. To be quite honest,
no, I don't think they want to give that up. And then on top of that, it's like even if you trade in a player, contractually, the only real player that they have on their roster that can kind of match contracts for a Giannis or a Kevin is Fred VanVleet. And I don't know if any of those teams are going to be like, yeah, Fred VanVleet and some picks for Giannis. That sounds reasonable. Or for Kevin Durant. So, like, it's a pipe dream, but it's just something to let their fans know how committed they are to trying to do what they can to win. But I like what's going on in Houston. Ime Udoka is doing a great job down there. I mean, they're obviously doing better at defense, which is helping their team be at the point that they are in the season so far and have the record that they are. I think they're 4th or 5th in the West. And at this point, with the Rockets, it's just kind of if they can keep up their offensive ability and keep up the way that they're playing defense, then they should stay within the pack of the Western Conference. But it looks like for them, if either one of those things starts to drop off, they'll be in a situation very quickly where they're not in the race for anything in the Western Conference.
Kind of like what happened last year.
Yeah,
they started off
pretty good, and then they just tailed off.
They got to make sure it doesn't happen this year.
But continuing in the NBA, another guy who's out here just fucking straight balling, LaMelo Ball of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yep.
I'm excited and I'm happy for this kid because he's been suffering a lot of injuries year after year after year. And it's early in the season. We don't know for sure if he's going to stay healthy for the rest of the year. He could, very well end up in a situation where, knock on wood, that he doesn't get hurt, but he could very well. So if, as history has shown itself, he could get hurt and his season could be derailed and we could be talking about what the fuck and what kind of run the Charlotte Hornets could have potentially had if LaMelo would have stayed healthy. But the way that he's balling right now, it shows why this franchise is still a believer in who he is and what he can bring to the table. Now, if I'm Charlotte, I don't know if you're at the point where you're thinking to yourself, maybe there's a possibility that you can move LaMelo. Because if you're not trusting that he can stay healthy, now is the best time for you to try to get something for him. And you could probably get some good young pieces and some picks for LaMelo Ball right now. I don't know if you do it because you still are a young team. You got Mark Williams, you got Brandon Miller, you got LaMelo, you got Bridges.
Yep.
So you still have the space to kind of grow this team and see exactly what they can be. But if you ever got to the point where you felt like, or if you were ever over the LaMelo Ball injury experience, now is a good time. I won't say like literally now, but if you're thinking about it, now is a good time while he's healthy and balling like this to try to see exactly what you could get out there. If you just kind of threw it out there to any GMs, like, hey, if he was available, what kind of package would you, what would you do for it?
Right. Yeah.
Now is the time to try to figure that out.
No, absolutely. I see your viewpoint on that. I just like you were saying, I doubt they actually pull the trigger on something just because he is so young and they're trying to stay in that younger direction, let their guys grow. I mean, like LaMelo has grown and Brandon Miller's grown every year as well. And
this is only Brandon Miller's second year?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, just to note some stats here of LaMelo Ball. I mean, right now he's 5th in scoring and he's averaging 35 and 7. with a steal as well, with a steal or a block. But he's playing absolutely phenomenal ball.
Lights out, baby.
There is not a lot of guys that could guard him, and it's kind of crazy because I think he's only 24 years old or 23 years old.
Yeah, he's still young.
Like, very young.
He still has years left to go, and that's why, like I said, like you would still get a massive haul for him if you decided to move on from him. Obviously, it's something that you would have to truly discuss with your ownership and your coaches and everything like that. You would really have to sit down and evaluate if there's something that you want to do. But if you did it, you would get what you needed to get back from, you would get what you need for him back, like the picks, the young players, whatever it is that you're looking for. It's just a matter of whether or not you deciding as a franchise, can you keep going on under the guise of knowing that typically, somewhere throughout the course of the season, he's no longer available to you.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is both our favorite portion of this
show. Our favorite motherfucking portion of this game. Who should stay the fuck out the motherfucking kitchen?
The house is fucking burning down,
it's
coach.
Burning goddamn down, coach. And the first group of motherfuckers who needs to get the fuck out the kitchen, the Las Vegas Raiders, bro.
Bad. Really, really bad.
And not Michael Jackson bad. Just
like
they're just bad. Like El Terrible. Like just terrible. They terrible. I wish I could say it like Chuck, but I can't say it like Charles. But they terrible. And I don't know how they fucking just fell off a cliff like this. Like last year they had so much promise. You know what I mean? Like they were rallying around their head coach and everything. And I don't know if it's the Devontae Adams thing that just kind of stunk up their whole season and just kind of put them behind the eight ball. They didn't have camaraderie. They didn't have togetherness. They didn't have some form of like union or some form of just like rallying behind each other and for one another. I don't know exactly what the fuck was missing. I don't know if Devontae was a reason for that, but it just feels like they came off this season starting it just poor, just so much turmoil, so much finger pointing, and now it's just built into a season where it's damn near forgettable. I mean, if I put my conspiracy hat on real fast, I could say that this is all by design because they want certain players to be on their roster next year.
Shador.
And Travis.
See, that's the thing with that, though. I don't think Deion Sanders lets Shador go to Vegas.
You don't think he lets him get coached by Antonio Pierce?
Fuck no.
Why not?
Antonio Pierce is probably out the door.
I doubt that. After just one season?
I mean, he had his pretty okay tenure as interim last year, and then this year he's shit.
Yeah, but I'm sure the ownership has to take into account the shit that happened with Devontae.
Of course.
They have fucking Gardner Minshew as their quarterback to start the season. I don't know who the fuck their quarterback is now.
I think it's still Gardner Minshew.
Okay, so there you go. It's like you couldn't have really expected. I mean, you expected the Las Vegas Raiders to potentially compete better, but I don't know if you necessarily thought that they were going to go out there and be world beaters. But my thing is just that my conspiracy hat says that this is by design, that they have decided that they kind of want to put themselves in position. And when I say kind of, they really wanted to put themselves in position to be able to draft somebody like Shador Sanders and potentially utilize whatever things they can to get Travis out of there too. That's my belief.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because if you're thinking Deion Sanders, what better place than to put your son in prime time Las Vegas right now?
Yeah, but I think he also looks at the organization and how they mishandled the whole Devontae Adams situation as well. I mean, he's been unhappy pretty much since he got there, and he had his guy Derek Carr at quarterback, and then still was unhappy, and I don't think they were able to fulfill what he wanted, and I don't think Devontae Adams is much of a diva either.
I don't know about that, because any guy that thinks that you're going to leave a situation with the Las Vegas Raiders and go to the New York Jets and expect something better, something has to be wrong with you mentally.
We'll get into the Jets in just a second. You're jumping the gun a little bit.
I'm just saying, Devontae Adams ain't the best right now for like deciding and deciphering what's the best situation for him. But moving on from the Las Vegas Raiders, the other team that needs to stay the fuck out the kitchen, The San Francisco 49ers coach, Kyle Shanahan, is not looking like the Wonder Kid anymore.
No.
What the fuck is going on in San Francisco?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. They're 1-3 against their division right now, which is not a winning formula for competing at all in the conference.
And just to think that this team has been to the Super Bowl, what, twice in the last
5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Man.
That's the thing though, coach. They have the talent. They do have the talent. Guys have been getting injured though. I think that's the biggest problem with this team is that
the injury bug has finally fucked them.
Yeah, but you know what they say about players. I mean, your best ability is your availability.
Yeah.
So I mean, signing on certain guys that have or keeping certain guys that have a history of injuries, you're putting yourself in that position for things to happen, like for these type of things to happen. Just to compare, the same thing when the Bulls got Lonzo Ball. I mean, he's had a long history of injuries before he came to Chicago, and now we're sitting with him and he's injured. So I think it's very similar to what's happening with the 49ers here, is that the guys just can't stay healthy, and I think Kyle Shanahan is just constantly scrambling around trying to find the right combination for certain guys. I mean, for a solid 2 weeks, Jawan Jennings was the guy.
Yeah.
And then I think Brandon Ayuk came back or whatnot, and then he was just a no-show. He stopped getting touches. So I think that's a failure as far as the coaching part goes.
Yeah.
I think he definitely could have handled that better. Christian McCaffrey being out, obviously, is a big blow because he's a really big part of their offense. But yeah, even on the defensive side of the football, I mean, they're just not the same. No, not the same like they were in their Super Bowl runs. You know
like
what I mean?
Kyle is out there just trying to make sugar with shit.
Yeah.
And you can't for real, you can't make sugar with shit. That's just what it is. He's trying to like really put something together and he just can't. And this is why you love the NFL.
Yeah.
Because the thing about the NFL is, as much as the NBA wants parity, the NFL completely has it. I mean, it's like year from year, teams can go from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to being like, what the fuck?
Yep.
Where did this come from?
I mean, the 2018 Bears were 12-4, and then 2019 Bears were like,
I think 8 and something or 7 and something.
Yeah, like 7-9 or 8-8. Yeah.
So it's just year by year with the NFL, like any team can rise and any team can fall, and it seems like that's just the way it goes. I mean, and San Francisco is just one of those teams that was on a rise, had opportunities to win the Super Bowl. Because, I mean, at this point, they can't really complain. They've had their opportunities to win a Super Bowl. They've been in the games. They just happened to run up against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes. Sometimes you Charles Barkley with the MVP and you just got to go play Jordan.
Yeah.
And regardless of the fact that you've been balling all fucking season and putting up amazing stats, sometimes that guy just laces them up, and it's just a whole different experience when you got to go against that guy. And it's just that's just what it is when it comes down to playing the Chiefs in general. I don't care who it is. You can beat them in the regular season over and over, and this is something that the Bills have learned. Like, we kicked their ass a lot of times in the regular season, and once again, they kicked their ass in the regular season. But it's something that happens in the postseason where the Chiefs just turn up a whole nother level, and it's like you find out that, they're a little different. They're a little different when that pressure hit.
Yep.
They're a little different underneath that stove. So, yeah. I hope San Francisco can figure that shit out, but for right now, they can get the fuck out the kitchen, coach.
Yep.
All right, moving on to our next segment, one of our favorite segments, the halftime report.
Yes.
The halftime report. All right, first on the docket for the halftime report. We've been watching this team kind of just crumble. We've been watching this team go through their ups and downs, and we've been trying to figure out exactly what the fuck can help this team. And I think I've got the answer. The answer is move the fuck on from Aaron Rodgers if you are the New York fucking Jets. If you have to pay this fucker to retire, do it. If you have to give him a position as a sideline coach to get him the fuck off your team as the quarterback, do it. If you have to trade him and pay part of his salary so you can remove him from your team, do it. Whatever the fuck it takes. New York, whatever the fuck it takes to get Aaron Rodgers from being your quarterback. You know what my response is? You better get like Nike and just do it.
Just do it.
Just fucking do it. Because he is a problem. He is, I won't say he's the problem, but he's a major component
Absolutely.
of the problem.
Yeah.
And the New York Jets, at this point, they're just trying. I think the owner at this point is just trying to clean house and save face for himself. They just fired their GM.
Yeah, Joe Douglas.
They already fired their head coach. You traded for Devontae Adams, hoping that it will appease Aaron Rodgers and that it would make some type of difference to the offense.
You traded Mike
then
Williams.
You traded Mike Williams because him and Aaron Rodgers, when Devontae Adams was a little bit more reasonable and feasible to get, all of a sudden Aaron and Mike just couldn't be on the same page.
Yep.
That's because Aaron Rodgers was getting his homie over there. So he was just like, we can kind of toss this guy to the side. But it turns out that, hey, Aaron, it's you. Like I said before, it's you that's the fucking problem. You're not playing up to par. You're not the quarterback that you was in Green Bay. You're not the quarterback that you used to be at all. You're not seeing the game the same way. Your processing is not as fast. Your release is not as fast. Your arm is not as strong. You're underthrowing a lot of guys. You're overthrowing a lot of guys to compensate for the fact that your arm strength is not there like it used to be. You just don't have it. And you can't TB12 this shit.
He ain't no TB12.
No, you can't TB12 this shit, Aaron. It's time. It might be time for you to hang it the fuck up. Now, I know you might not want to do that. I know you might not think so. I know you might think you still have it in you because you've seen Tom do it and you want to compete and show your competitive side. But I feel like you checked out a long time ago. I feel like you checked out when you was in Green Bay. And maybe you thought that this was going to be able to rejuvenate you by coming to the New York Jets because they were a team that was desperate for a quarterback and then desperate believed that if they just had somebody behind the center that could potentially just get the ball down the field and not make mistakes and have the IQ that you supposedly have with the defense that they had, that they would be in a position to win a Super Bowl. But you have utterly came and fucked all that up, so much so that everybody around that organization is getting fired. Because anybody and everybody that was either involved in getting you there or making your experience there a tough one has been let go. Robert Saleh let go because you and him couldn't get along, and now the GM is fired because he brought your ass there in the first place. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, you have to look yourself in the fucking mirror. And if you are the New York Jets, you have to look yourself in the fucking mirror and say, why and how the fuck did we allow ourselves to believe that an aging quarterback that has been showing signs of decreasing in his play, why did we think that that guy could come in and save us? Why did we not stick with the program of at least utilizing Zach Wilson as long as we could to get ourselves another chance at getting a great pick? You could have just kept stinking so that you could have kept putting yourself in a position to get a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. Just say, fuck it. He's bad. We're going to stay bad until we can find ourselves the next quarterback. You could have just did that and just told your fan base, like, hey, we don't believe in going to find an Asian quarterback to help us win shit. We believe in our coaches and we're going to let them develop. And if not, we'll be in a position to find the next quarterback that we think can help us. But no, you went big game hunting. You went high risk, high reward. And guess what? All you got is a high risk. No reward. I don't know. How you feel about that, Coach?
No, I agree with a lot of the points you're making. I think a majority of the league was pretty excited when Aaron moved on from Green Bay and went to New York. People thought it was going to be a revitalization of the New York Jets football.
It was going to be a what, Coach?
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that later, but
it was going to revitalize.
Yeah, it's going to revitalize the team. And
I'm laughing with you, not at you. Just so you know.
No, but I think they were expecting Aaron Rodgers to come in and kind of bring this football program back to a state that it once was when they were competing. But that hasn't been the case. That hasn't been the case at all. And I don't think it's necessarily a lack of talent. I think it's kind of like the Bears in the way where you do have the talent at certain positions, but I don't think. I just think there's so much. It's such a cluster, like a cluster of shit that they can't scrape themselves out of.
No, I agree.
Like
I agree.
I think everything's been so poorly mismanaged, and that goes with Aaron Rodgers as well. I think the whole way they kind of just brought Devontae Adams over was very, very shady. Kind of like his.
They like stole that.
Yeah, like his.
My bad, but they did. They kind of like stole him from the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think the discomfort. I think the discomfort he was showing in Vegas, and just refusing not to play because he was injured.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't. I think it was very interesting to see how often these players. Why you keep laughing at me, Coach? How these players control the narrative in their storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously it was all Aaron Rodgers doing, getting Devontae Adams over. I mean, Devontae Adams is literally living with Aaron Rodgers right now. Like they live in the same house, which is pretty crazy. That just shows kind of the extent that
of
Aaron
their
Rodgers
bond,
went.
their friendship and their bond,
Right,
and things like that.
It's great, but two players don't make a football team.
No,
it's a team.
No, this isn't. You can't Shaq and Kobe this shit in the NFL.
As we say at my team over at Universal, we will play as a team. We will win as a team.
Yeah, and you definitely guess what? And you definitely gonna lose as a team. Yep. God damn it!
Yeah,
that's the other part of that shit. We gonna play together. We gonna win together.
Exactly.
But guess what? You gonna lose as a team as well.
There's not one individual that can just come in and just lead on their back, lead a franchise to glory, because that's just not how it works in football.
Yeah.
Not even in baseball. In baseball, it's 5-on-5, obviously with the bench, but in football, you got 11 guys on the field that have to be doing their job.
Yeah.
And it's all about accountability. And I think this is a franchise as well that's lacking accountability. I think.
Yeah, that's why they're firing people left to right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's their version of accountability.
It's so funny because it's so similar how like the Jets situation is playing out and how the Bears situation played out.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see. I don't think the Jets are going to turn it around. Maybe because like the Bears could.
Because guess what? Both of those organizations were hyping up what the season could be.
Yep.
People were talking Super Bowl for the Jets and people were talking Super Bowl for the Bears.
Yeah.
It had got that outrageous. One was because you had this superstar quarterback as far as Aaron Rodgers, who already has shown improved, two-time MVP, two-time MVP, one-time Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP, blah, blah, blah. And then you had this generational quarterback that was transformative, the next Patrick Mahomes, blah, 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 with a solid defense, all these skills players.
Yeah.
And so all he essentially had to do was come in and just game manage, and then the other guy, all he had to do was just kind of be a little bit of his former self, and both teams had everything they needed to get to the promised land. And so essentially it's like that's not how it works. You still got to lace it up, you still got to put on the pads, you still got to go out there and coach, and guess what you also have to do? You have to play against another team that wants to kick your ass.
Exactly. I mean, it's a National Football League. You get there; these are professionals making millions of dollars for doing what they love.
Yeah.
And obviously, you make more money the more successful you are in the league, right?
Absolutely.
So you're trying to compete.
But yeah, as we move on from the NFL, let's get into the NBA, Coach.
I think this is gonna be real fun. I think this is gonna be a real good portion of this. It's gonna be fun.
We're excited about the NBA season so far and where it's going. And as always, as a fan of the NBA, as a fan of teams in the NBA, and as a fan of watching guys play and their play styles and different things like that, your mind kind of goes as a coach as to, okay, where could this guy go? How could this guy fit in a better situation? Or where could this guy be that can maybe turn the team up another notch, because you're just looking at things and evaluating things from a fan perspective, but as a coach, from a coach perspective. And yesterday, article released that the Brooklyn Nets are actively willing to shop Cam Thomas. And he is a young player on the Brooklyn Nets roster who is a for sure bucket.
Yeah.
But they have not yet reached a extension agreement for him. And so due to that, they are willing to part ways if the price is right. And so you and I were having just, during our preliminary talks and putting together the show for today, we were talking about our ideas for different players and trades and different things like that. And when we came across that news about Cam Thomas, you immediately were just kind of like, yeah, this is the guy I want to talk about.
Yep.
So, if you are Brooklyn, one, are you actually considering moving on or finding out what you can get from Cam Thomas? And if you are Cam Thomas, where do you think is a good place for you to go?
So as far as the Brooklyn Nets go, I'm wondering why they're willing to shop him. I think maybe he wants a lot of money. They've probably had the talks.
They always want a lot of money.
Right, and he probably wants an absurd amount of money when he isn't necessarily so proven, right? I mean, yeah, the guy is a bucket getter, but you got to bring other aspects as well to the game. You know what I mean? Like we've always said, if you could score the fuck out of the ball, great. You got to impact the game in other ways as well.
You do.
On the defensive end, playmaking, it's not just scoring. You know what I mean? The guy's a bucket getter, he's a scorer, absolutely, and teams could definitely use him. Which leads me to wonder why there hasn't necessarily been an agreement reached. Maybe Brooklyn is just uncomfortable paying him the amount of money maybe he's asking because of kind of the role he fits. I don't think they necessarily see him as their guy moving forward. Obviously they just got rid of Mikal Bridges. He's in New York now. So obviously they're trying to go, I think, in a younger direction, which at the same time, moving Cam Thomas doesn't make sense to me just because he is so young. Like, I think he's 23, 24. He's
something like that.
Very, very young. Very young. And, the guy could hoop. The guy could play basketball.
Right.
And I found it very interesting to see that they're shopping him. And to get to that second part of the question, where do I think he's going to end up if he is moved? I think there's only one answer, the Orlando Magic. I think the Orlando Magic, simply because of his contract and the cap space, they will be able to offer a contract moving forward, and just the pieces they have around him. I like that. Yeah, it'd be very, very interesting.
Ooh.
I think he'd look really good in the Magic jersey too.
Next up, Apollo and friends.
And Jalen Suggs.
I don't know. I mean, he's only making what, $4 million?
$4 million this year.
So you don't really have to trade too much to get him.
No.
I mean, mostly what you package in is picks.
Yep, and that's why I got here. Honestly, I think they could probably get it done, depending on how eager Brooklyn is to get rid of him, and how much Orlando wants Cam Thomas. I think they might just be able to get him for 2 seconds.
No.
Yeah, I think
no.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
No.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
Now you lost me on that. Shit.
I'm gonna tell you why. Listen. I'm gonna tell you why.
Nope.
Well, you could hear me out, and then you could give your rebuttal. How about that?
Fair.
I think because obviously Orlando owns a shit ton of picks.
Yes, they do.
And they're gonna be very inclined to move these picks, but I think what holds more value in these second round picks is that I have them trading their own second rounders and keeping the worst ones from like Milwaukee and Phoenix. I think if they trade their own second rounders, holds more value. And that's why I noted before I said that it all really depends on how eager Brooklyn is to move him, and if they truly don't think they could reach an agreement with the guy. Because if they think they could somehow talk to him throughout the season and, make him maybe come down in his money, or maybe, they're just going to match what he wants, then obviously you'd need more. You'd probably have to give up a first-round pick with that as well, and maybe another second onto that. But I think if Brooklyn is ready to move on and just start this whole thing over because they don't see him fit and they don't want to give him the money, I think 2 seconds could do it. And I don't think Orlando has to give anybody up either, because it doesn't make sense for them to give up any of their roster pieces.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because they have so many picks, and I don't think Brooklyn would even want anybody back because they know they're not competing this season. They know that.
Yeah.
And, obviously we're like 16 to 18 games into the season now, roughly. And it's a tough thing to say so early on, but I think walking into the season, Brooklyn already knew that as well. So that's the only reason why I think they could get away with 2 seconds, because they might just not want to offer this guy the long-term multi-million-dollar deal that the guy deserves, because they don't know if he's their guy moving forward, and they don't want to get this shit wrong again.
I understand the aspect of not wanting to get it wrong again. I understand them not seeing him as their guy. So I can see why you would say that if they're just more so interested in getting what they can for him and walking away from the situation, why you think 2 second rounds will work. But he's more valuable than 2 second rounds. So I think that they wouldn't allow that to happen without getting a first round pick, regardless of where it came from. And if the Orlando Magic isn't willing to give out a first round pick, somebody else will. I don't know exactly what team that would be.
True. Yeah.
I don't know exactly what team that would be. But somebody would be willing to give up a first round pick for Cam Thomas because they know exactly what he brings to the table. He is a proven commodity, at least in the form of getting buckets. Everything else you might have to kind of slowly get out of him and coach it out of him, but you know for sure that he can get you the bucket. So that alone in itself is worth a mid first round pick, a late first round pick, or something like that. So I don't think Orlando gets that deal done without a first round pick. It might not take multiple first round picks. It might be a first and a second or something like that to try to get that deal done, and maybe whatever player that they can get to kind of match a little bit of salary. But I do like the Orlando Magic as the place for Cam Thomas. I think that that's a perfect spot. I think that's exactly where he can go and become a major component of taking that team over the top. Because what they are really missing outside of Paolo Banchero and Franz is another dynamic guy that can just go get buckets.
Yeah.
Because they have all the length and everything else that they need for defense and managing the rim and protecting the rim and making it hard on the perimeter. But another guy that can just go get a bucket outside of Paolo and Franz would really put that team in a situation where they're completely dangerous. And maybe he's not a starter, but off the bench in Orlando, he can really fill that 6-man role, and that might be where he gets his money. You know what I'm saying? He could easily become another Lou Will or another Jamal Crawford.
Yeah,
easily.
very true.
I can easily see that for him. But I'm sure in his mind he's a starter. So even if he went to Orlando, I'm not exactly who he will start with. Maybe the lineup is Jalen, Cam, Paolo, Franz, and Wendell Carter Jr. Not a bad lineup.
Yeah.
It's enough scoring. And like I said, he doesn't necessarily have to be the top premier defender. That backcourt is really small between him and Jalen. But when you got Paolo, Franz, and Wendell as part of like your front court situation, your backcourt can be, small guys. Similar to Cleveland. Like Cleveland has a small backcourt, but their front court is long in length and has a lot of length. So,
And Jalen Suggs is a hell of a defender too.
He is, and he can play defense. But that was good on Cam Thomas. I really do like him going to Orlando. Now, for this one, I want everybody to kind of relax. Because when I say this, I already know we might get fucking comments spammed in our shit about how crazy this shit sounds and how fucked up that this shit is. But I really want to take the time out to kind of express how I feel like this makes a lot of sense. The guy that I think should be on the move and going to this team in particular is Ben Simmons to the Chicago Bulls.
He doesn't look that bad in that jersey.
He doesn't look bad in the Bulls jersey.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good. And the reason why I'm saying this is right now the Bulls are suffering in a couple areas. Our starting point guard is Josh Giddey, who has an inconsistent three-point shot, which makes it hard for the defense to respect him on the floor from the perimeter, which allows them to kind of compact the lane and make it a little less easier for Kobe, Zach, or any of our wing players to get to the lane and drive. And in crunch times of the game, the defense pretty much just dares Josh Giddey to shoot. As they've been doing all season, if you're just a smart defensive coach. And so therefore, a lot of the times towards the end of the game in crunch situations, Billy Donovan is having to stagger minutes between Ayo on the floor and Josh Giddey on the floor, depending on what's needed. If we need scoring, he puts scoring and defense, he puts Ayo out there. If we need somebody to facilitate and need a little bit more length for rebounding, he'll put Josh out there. But the reality is you don't want to be in a situation as a coach, and I'm just speaking from a coach perspective, you really don't like to be in those type of situations where you have to toggle between two players for certain type of situations, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because sometimes you might end up having to utilize timeouts that you didn't want to use, or sometimes there's some plays that are just given up based upon the fact that you have that person on the floor, and that puts you in a very tough situation. The second part of what is hindering the Bulls is our center position. Now, Vucevic has been playing lights out the entire season.
Playing great ball, yeah.
Playing great basketball on the offensive end. But defensively, he still remains to be a liability.
Always will be, too.
And he always will be. When it comes down to pick and roll, just like most big men in the NBA, he plays drop coverage, which allows for any guard that has a good shot to come off that screen and just pull up in the mid-range, and just all you pretty much doing is just hoping that they miss.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for him to guard mobile big men that are quick and fast, like a Karl Anthony Towns or anybody like that off the perimeter. Most of the time, those type of players can just get right past Vucevic and get to the basket and score at will. And he's not a great rim protector. So even when guys get to the rim, even small guards, most of them can always finish their layups if they have any type of touch. I.e. Darius Garland when we played the Cleveland Cavaliers and we were really close into that game, but he was able to put it away by going ISO on Vucevic off the perimeter and just getting straight past him and getting to the bucket.
Should have been an and one, to be honest.
And it could have been, and it should have been an and one.
Mm-hmm.
Key and Ben Simmons. All right. Now, here's my trade proposition.
Mm-hmm.
My trade proposition is that you give up Vucevic, you give up Josh Giddey, and you give up Chris Duarte. And you trade them to Brooklyn for Ben Simmons straight up. If we want to talk about picks, we can. We can ask Brooklyn for a first-round pick, and we can send them 2 second-round picks in return, if that's something that they're willing to do. I know people will want a first-round pick because I think people assume as Bulls fans that right now the way that Vucevic is playing and the fact that we didn't get a first-round pick for trading Caruso, that everybody would be up in arms if we got Ben Simmons without getting some type of pick back, especially if we're trading Vucevic and Josh Giddey in a package.
Mm.
But hear me out as we go to the board, Coach, and we showcase exactly how Ben Simmons can be utilized in this Bulls offense. If we're able to get the board going here, that would be great. But just if I'm speaking on it, the way that I see Ben Simmons being utilized is once you trade Vucevic, once you trade Josh Giddey, and once you trade Chris Duarte, your starting lineup becomes Kobe, Ayo, Zach, P. Will, and Ben Simmons at your center. He becomes your point center,
Mm-hmm.
and so now whenever he gets the ball off the board, he's able to automatically go. There's not too many centers in the NBA that can defend him or stop him in transition. So as he's going down the court, he has Ayo, he has Zach on the wing, he has Kobe on the wing, and he has Patrick Williams on the wing, all going down the court in transition. So now defenses has to decide who to stop and where to stop him. You know Zach can get to the basket and cut, or he can stop at the three-point line and shoot. You know Kobe's going to get to the three-point line. You know Patrick's going to get to the three-point line. And you know Ayo can either do that or slash just like Zach. So it puts pressure on the defense to make decisions as to who's going to guard who's going to stop who. Now, as Ben is coming down the lane, that center, if they're not already in a trail position because he's already got past him, now Ben is having to go against a guard. What guard is really going to step in his way to guard him going in transition at 6'11" going down the court?
Not many.
Not many. And if they do decide to do it, it means that somebody on the wing is free for a shot.
Yep.
And Ben Simmons, as great as he is, one of his greatest attributes is passing. He's going to be able to find anybody that's open in transition for easy catch and shoot. And how many of those guys on the court that I named in that starting lineup is good at catch and shoot? Ding, all four of them.
Pretty much all of them, yeah.
All four of them. Ayo is great in catch and shoot. Kobe is great at catch and shoot. Patrick Williams pretty much is only best at catch and shoot.
Yeah, you can't put that ball down.
And Zach, we know for sure, is one of the best in the league at catch and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people are going to say, well, what happens in the half court, coach?
Yep.
I'm glad you asked.
Mm-hmm.
In the half court, any one of those players can do a pick and roll with Ben Simmons. It doesn't matter who has the ball. It can be Patrick that does a pick and roll. It can be Ayo. It can be Kobe. It can be Zach. What happens now is that now you put Ben Simmons in a dunker spot, similar to how Draymond is put into the dunker spot in Golden State.
Mm.
Once Ben gets the ball off that pick and roll, most teams in the NBA are now switching, right?
Yep.
Okay. If the switch occurs, easy for Ben. All he has to do is take that ball and drive to the basket on any little guy that's on him.
Yeah.
So now he has the middle of the floor dedicated to himself because we're going to stay spaced out. Ayo is going to still be on the wing. Zach is still going to be. Whoever is out there that's not part of that pick and roll, they're still going to be across the perimeter. So now Ben has all of that middle to play with, especially if it's a small guy that's on him. If it's a big guy that's on him in the pick and roll, that big guy has to recover to him. So now he still has the foot advantage, the foot speed advantage to get past that big man. That's a lot of big men that's going to be in foul trouble.
Yeah.
That's from Joel Embiid. That's from Brook Lopez. That's from Kristaps Porzingis. Any big man you name, Jokic, anybody that you name outside of maybe Anthony Davis is going to be in trouble with that foot speed issue in the open floor. But let's say you get the small guy on him. He posts up. That's where Ben can eat now. Mm-hmm. Because we're not expecting Ben to post up the big man. No, that's not what we're asking him to do. We want the big man to have to chase him across the court because contrary to people's belief, if you take Ben to the perimeter, no, he can't shoot, but he can backdoor the hell out of a big man who's not used to being out on the perimeter defending those type of actions.
Yeah.
Easy money. Guy comes down the lane, big man steps up, Ben comes baseline, drop it off to him, dunk right there. Or like I said, with the small guy on him, he posts up the small guy. Now the defense has to collapse because now Ben can take advantage of that small guy. You come in and collapse and double team, out to the perimeter, swing shot. Very simple. Works in the half court.
Yeah.
Is even 10 times scarier in transition. Defensively, it fixes everything that we have going on because you swap out Ayo for Giddey. Ayo is a much better defender on the perimeter. You swap out Vucevic for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons doesn't necessarily have to play drop coverage.
Mm-hmm.
He can actually step up, take the guard, shield it a little bit, and return back to his guy if necessary. That's not something that Vucevic can do.
No.
That's not something that Vucevic can do at all. Vucevic can only play drop coverage.
Yeah.
So now you bring Ben up on all of those screens. He can come up, crowd it, recover, get back, or Patrick or whoever can help on the back end, come, recover for a second. Ben has enough speed to get back into play. Now that's either a block from behind or he's able to just simply recover and get back to where he is, and our guys are able to get back to their guy once the ball shoots back out. Now, you might say, well, the only deficiency is if Ben gets on the post, can he stop anybody from the post play? The answer is he actually can sometimes. I'm not saying it's always going to be like that, but the difference between him and Vucevic is even if Ben gets posted up, Ben can actually jump.
Yeah, that is very true. Very true.
So he has a little bit more. He has a lot more athleticism than Vucevic. So even if that center is able to post him up a little bit, you only got so many seconds to post, and Ben is not as weak as people think. So as long as he's able to hold his ground at least a little bit, that center is going to have a tough day getting the easy looks that he wants around the basket. And if Ben can just utilize his athleticism and jump a little bit, that'll deter how easy a lot of those hooks, a lot of those layups, a lot of those pivot plays from the center position is going to be against him on a post.
Yeah, and then you always have those, help defenders that could always help the post and make them pass it right back out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. I see the vision behind it. When you first mentioned it to me, I'm a pretty big fan of that because I like how Vooch is playing, but I just don't don't see it fit in the offense we're trying to run now. We're trying to play fast, and I think Ben Simmons does fit that. Obviously, the contract situation is concerning, but with your trade, with the trade exception from the Chris Duarte trade that we traded away DeMar, the contracts would actually work out, and you only have him on the books for a year. So if you wanted to even renegotiate, maybe he takes a more team-friendly deal for one. For two, you don't even have to re-sign him, and you have a plethora of people that are probably upcoming free agents the next year.
And you got Vooch out the books.
Yep.
His 2 years is out the books.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about extending Josh Giddey anymore, so you don't have that concern, and you can focus and lock in on what you're going to do with Kobe and Ayo.
Yes.
And then on top of that, Lonzo Ball is coming off the books. So not only do you get the $20 million from Vucevic off, you get the $20 million from Lonzo off, you get the $40 million that comes away from Ben Simmons after he's gone via that trade. So all of that cap space is there. And then you don't have to worry about extending Josh Giddey and dealing with that circumstance of like, what are we going to do with that now that we traded Alex?
Yeah, they would set themselves up pretty nicely for free agency and, in the draft as well. The draft as well.
Yeah, because if it doesn't work out, you still have your situation where Cooper Flag it is, or whatever else you can get, and then you still have money in free agency to get somebody like a Brandon Ingram or anybody like that you can bring to the Bulls. So I think it works for us as a play style. It helps us defensively, and in the long term, it helps us financially and gives us flexibility to do the things that we want to do going forward as a team with a plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
a fan. I'm a fan of that idea.
All right. As we close in the show, you know how we always close it. Our NFL Week 12 goddamn prediction, Coach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Our predictions, Coach. All right. Starting this Thursday, you got the Steelers and the Browns. What you got?
I got the Steelers.
I got the Steelers, too. Kansas City, Carolina.
Why is that a game? Kansas City.
Carolina, just kidding. I got Kansas City. Minnesota, Chicago.
Give me my Bears, man. We're playing that soldier. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, I got Chicago. I think we'll figure out a way to make Sam Darnold look like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Houston.
Give me Houston.
I got Houston. They're starting to catch a little bit of stride back.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, Indianapolis.
Detroit.
I got an upset. I got the Colts. I think Anthony Richardson got something for them. I think he does.
You're serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Okay. All right.
I'm not joking.
Okay. All right.
New England and Miami.
Give me Miami. They've been playing better.
I got Miami.
With Tua back.
Tampa and New York.
Tampa.
I got Tampa too.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into that New York Giants thing with Daniel Jones. We didn't do it this time, but we're gonna talk about that shit because that's wild, especially after seeing them on Hard Knocks and shit.
Yep.
This is incredible how that has played out. Dallas and Washington.
Give me Washington. Dallas is a shit show.
Yeah, I got Washington too. This is the perfect time for them to play Dallas to kind of get themselves back on the to turn things around for them. So this is perfect for them. Broncos and the Raiders.
Give me Denver.
I got Denver too.
Yeah.
San Francisco, Green Bay.
Give me Green Bay.
I got Green Bay. Arizona, Seattle. I got Arizona.
Divisional matchup. Okay, give me Seattle.
All right. Eagles, Los Angeles.
Give me Eagles.
I got the Eagles too.
Really
and then Monday, big game.
It's a big game.
Baltimore has to win this game.
They do.
If they want to continue to show that they are a serious contender for a Super Bowl run. I got Baltimore, but I would not be surprised if the Chargers pull that game out.
Yeah, I think the Harbaugh brothers going at it once again.
It makes for classic TV.
Yeah, it's gonna be great TV.
Yeah.
That's why probably it's a Monday night game.
Of course,
to be honest. So
of course.
But I got Baltimore as well. I think they could get it done.
Yeah. All right. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we have the halftime sweepstakes. As always, you know how it goes. You post to your story. You tag us in it. You have to be following our Instagram, following our YouTube, and you have to have the correct score at halftime for the Bears and Vikings game. All right? Remember, it's about having the right score. It's not about just saying who's up and who's winning at halftime. If you don't have the right score, if you're not following us on YouTube, if you're not following us on Instagram, you cannot win the cash prize. But again, we won't know it if you don't tag us in the story. So you got to tag us so that we can see it and we can validate who can get the cash prize.
Yep.
All right.
What's your prediction, Coach?
I'm going to say at halftime this game is going to be Bears 17, Vikings 7.
I've got 17-10 to the Vikings.
Vikings up at halftime.
Yeah, and then we make a little comeback in the second
half.
Yeah, because I don't know, we like to be that comeback team sometimes. So
sometimes.
I also wanted to mention, obviously, next episode, very special for us, episode 10 of the Halftime Podcast, hitting a milestone here. Next week will be a 2-hour special. All right, we're going to have a special interview with a coach we know.
I don't know if I can do 2 hours, Coach. I might have to bail out after that first hour.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I could deal with you for fucking 2 hours. But yeah, we're gonna have a coach come in for a certain part of the segment and kind of give his experiences with coaching and kind of go over some things, talk about sports with him as well, and then we'll continue our regular show as well. So yeah, be on the lookout for next week, and be sure, please, to send in those sweepstakes. Keep liking the clips. They've been performing pretty well on TikTok, and we appreciate you guys. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. We need more of y'all. And as always, it's been Coach Konrad.
It's Coach Malcolm, and as always, you know how it go. See red and bear down, baby.
Yes, sir.
And we out. Yes, sir.